Good afternoon. Welcome to Sportsline YXE. I'm Linda Walker, and in the background, my heard but unseen co-host, Lefty Munster, Indiana, will provide the budgie entertainment for you in this next half hour. Today, we are talking basketball again. You might recall if you watched last week, we had Lisa Tomaitis on talking about the upcoming Olympics, and hopefully they are going to be able to go to Tokyo. Today, we are looking at summer basketball, specifically the Canadian Elite Basketball League, about to enter its third season. Pandemic warnings, if we can get things settled down, that might be the only thing that will keep the league from being able to play this season. Last year, they did do the bubble to be able to get the second season in. Now, the first year, Saskatchewan Rattlers came out with the championship. Unfortunately, didn't make the playoffs last year. This year, General Manager Barry Rawlyk putting together a pretty good-looking team to try to see if we can change things around this year. And Barry Rawlyk is with me today, as well as Alex Dewar, who was one of the picks in the U Sports draft. And I have to tell you, Barry, this is one of the things that I really liked when I heard about the CEBL starting up is the Canadian content part and providing an opportunity for U Sports players to be drafted and have a chance to really up their game and have a chance to see what professional basketball is like.
Yeah, well, I think one of the elements that was missing from the Canadian basketball scene and one of the things that was inhibiting the competitive level in this country is the avenue for players to stay at home and to be able to play at a high professional level and to be able to develop. And so CEBL has come in and filled that model quite well, and has actually really tried to put an emphasis on giving U Sport players the opportunity to experience the sort of development that they need in that professional milieu. So it's a really good opportunity.
This year, going into the draft, had to be an especially hard one for you because there was no U Sports season last year. So no tournaments, no chance for Canada West playoffs, nationals, any place where you would have an opportunity to look at some of these players, or on the odd off time for you to be able to sort of watch games on the web to take a look at some of these players that you might be interested in. So how did you go about trying to get a look at players to see who would fit the model of a Saskatchewan Rattler that you want to put together in a team for Chad Jacobson to coach?
Well, honestly, I think we're probably at less of a disadvantage than a number of the teams, given the close affinity to U Sport that I have in my role as head coach at the University of Saskatchewan, and obviously Chad is the lead assistant there. We've got our ear to the ground pretty close with U Sport and going on two things, like our previous years in and around the league and knowing players and knowing programs, and obviously our we have pretty good collegial relationships with a number of our opponents around the league. So the coaching group is pretty tight at U Sports. So we have the avenues to be able to go out and get information on players and find out who might be a good fit for professional level play. So in that sense, not as much of a challenge as it might have been, particularly for some other organizations that may not have coaches that are as quite closely aligned with U Sport.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. I should have mentioned you also being the head coach of the Huskies and Chad being one of your assistants. And yeah, that certainly is a tremendous avenue for you to be able to learn about players. And now the guy who's on the screen with us right now, Alex Dewar, I think you know him quite well after his first couple of seasons playing for you. And Alex, I have to tell you, I did get a chance to watch you quite a bit in your first year with the Huskies because I was working with Simon on the webcast games, and you made an instant impression with your enthusiasm on the floor, quality of play. It was really seemed to be a seamless transition for you into U Sports basketball. Am I making it sound like it was too easy? Because I'm not saying you didn't work to make that transition.
I had a bit of help. I know when I was in high school, kind of the summers of, I think, going into grade 11, going into grade 12, Coach Rawlyk and Coach Jacobson let me come out in the summer and let me actually practice with the team a little bit already. So I kind of got a feel. It was a lot faster, a lot more athletic players. The game moved a lot faster, but being able to go in the summers when I was in high school to kind of get a feel for that level of play and that speed of play already helped me kind of develop my game, know what I have to work on my own time to kind of get to that level. And once I finally graduated, grade 12, I kind of had a feel of the speed of the game already and everything. It was still a tough transition. A lot of the players are great talent at that level, and they were bigger and older, but having that opportunity to kind of see what I had to work on beforehand, before I got to that level, gave me the opportunity to kind of have a easier transition. So it was nice and a good opportunity for me for sure to go before high school to learn about myself and about my game, and that really helped my game develop.
Now, being drafted, you were drafted in the second round, 7th pick. What does that mean to you to have a chance? And I believe you also were picked up by the Rattlers last year, but weren't able to play. Am I remembering what I've been reading correctly, or am I somewhere out in space?
No, I believe you're correct. Yeah.
Okay. So what does it mean to you having another chance to actually come and be with the team this year and have a chance to experience professional basketball?
Well, this opportunity, I think, is a really special one. It's an opportunity that I cherish I do cherish, because it's an experience that I can use to get better at my game, to bring to the university level. And I also want to have that, with COVID and everything, have that opportunity to pretty much just play basketball again. So there's been kind of this past year just kind of doing a lot of individual work and everything. So having this opportunity to play against the great players that GM Barry and Coach Jacobson found. They found a great group of talent, and also just a great group of guys who have great character. So to be able to learn the game from them, and also to be back onto the court to compete, it means a lot. And I think it's a great experience to develop my own game, and also try to do whatever I can to help develop the team as well.
Well, you've obviously got game as well, or you don't get picked. I think that's always pretty obvious when we're talking about the professional leagues. What do you want to try to bring to the team, Alex? When you look at your skill set, what do you feel you can do to enhance the talent that's there, and as a guard, to help guys play the shots that they're the best at playing?
Yeah, well, a big thing that I always like to keep in mind is, no matter if it's a game or a practice, I always want to bring a work ethic. So going into practice, I always want to push my teammates by just working really hard in practice, try to push their level and make them go into the kind of push them as well. So that's one thing I want to do. And another thing I want to do is I like to run in transition. So I like to get up and down the court as fast as I can and kind of spread the court. So those are the work ethic of just pushing guys in practice or in games, or no matter what that may be, is something I want to bring, as well as kind of spreading the court, kind of playing that run and gun style of play is what I enjoy.
Barry, is that kind of what you have been trying to do? You took over as GM last year when Greg Jockums stepped aside. The team that you've tried to put together these last couple of years, and I know your Huskies are a run and gun type of team, is that the kind of player you've been trying to look at to bring in and make this that same kind of team?
Well, the CEBL itself is a very high tempo league, so you have to be able to be able to score points. I think if you're trying to slug it out in the half court all the time against teams that are very talented and very athletic, it complicates things in terms of your ability to be able to score the basketball and to be able to win games that way. So the ability to be able to score in transition and play up tempo is very important. And further to that, I mean, it's entertaining. That's what the fans want to come out and see. That I think every fan wants to come out, be entertained. See a lot of action, and ultimately they want to see the team win. So we think we can win with that up tempo style of play, as long as we recruit or sign the right types of players to be able to fit that style.
Yeah, you've got a number of guys. I was kind of looking at some of their bios, and yeah, certainly they are very up tempo players that you have them bringing in. Now we were able to get Alex on here today. I want to get you to talk about your other two draft picks, Tyrese Patoma, who's also a Husky, although he hasn't had a chance to play with the team yet. And I forgot to ask you before the show started. My bad. So you say Expos, Alex, and we got onto an Expos discussion before we got started.
Okay.
I did not ask you your number one pick, the right way to pronounce his name, and I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to let you introduce your number one draft pick to us, Barry.
That would be Nervins Demostin, and he's from Bishop's University in Quebec.
What do you like about his play? What did you like about what you knew about him?
Well, again, we kind of go back to that up-tempo type thing. He's a guy who can really, push the tempo up and down the floor. He's shown the ability to be able to run the floor, distribute the ball, and he's a guy who can get into the paint and into the rim and score and put a lot of pressure on the defense. So, I think the one requirement that's absolute must in this league, and that would include Alex and Tyrese, is there's a certain level of athleticism you have to possess in order to be able to be effective in this league. And I think, it speaks well to not only Alex's skill set, but his athleticism that we've decided that he's going to be able to compete at this level, because, there isn't, at any given time, there's 10 players out on the floor. Each one of those guys is an excellent athlete. I think that Nervins is in that group. He brings that level of athleticism, and that he's going to be able to, like I said, not only play at that tempo, but be able to defend and be able to stay in front of some very dangerous offensive players. So, those are the key things that we saw with him, and we feel that he can be effective in our system.
Yeah, stats are certainly pretty good. I was looking those up, and for the 1920 season, averaged 13 points, 5.5 rebounds, 4.1 assists in 54 collegiate games, and he was the Bishop's Gators Athlete of the Year. So certainly those are good numbers for a guard. Alex had 13.6 points, 2.6 rebounds, played 25.6 minutes in 47 collegiate games. So certainly Alex has shown that, you've got the stamina to play minutes in these games. Tyrese averaged 10.8 points, 1.9 rebounds, 1.8 assists in 51 collegiate games. And he is a transfer from Cleveland State University. Is this another one of those cases, Barry, where kids from Canada go down, they want to try the U.S. college system, and then maybe they're not getting the playing time, maybe they don't feel they're getting the coaching that they would like to have, and decide they want to come back home again?
Well, in Tyrese's case, and in the case of an awful lot of players, I think if you look at the NCAA transfer portal, there's going to be nearly 1,500 NCAA men's Division I basketball players that are transferring this year, and you say to yourself, well, geez, that's an average of 5 or 6 players per team. So what's that all about? And the reality of the situation is that at NCAA Division I, that there's obviously the upper tier teams are very, very talented and playing at a very high level, but you get beyond the first 50 or 60 teams in the NCAA, and then there's a whole bunch of teams there that are probably less stable in terms of their program, and ultimately, in the end of the day, there's a lot of changes in coaching staffs. The coaches tend to be very migratory in the NCAA, moving from one school to the next, and in Tyrese's case, there's a change in the coaching staff, and inevitably, what happens there is, they want to bring in their own crew of players. So he kind of got caught in the shuffle there, and a change of coaching staff at Cleveland State, and as a result, he just decided that he was tired of the uncertainty of what was happening in Division I basketball, and he just wanted to come to a more stable environment and continue his education. He's a high academic student. He's got some real aspirations away from the court, and so to that end, we recruited him to the University of Saskatchewan.
And like Alex, a Mr. Basketball Saskatchewan as well. So certainly, that takes a lot to win an honor like that. There are an awful lot of good basketball players in this province. I think in my time from being a sports reporter to today and having a chance to see the games through the webcast, that I think the level has really grown. And, I know the Raptors, Steve Nash are a part of players getting interested and seeing what they might be able to accomplish down the road. But, now when I go to games, it's just night and day, Barry. And you've coached a few high school basketball games in your time, and I'm sure that you would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. I think at one point in time, I think there were, we were in a situation where we had, a lot of kids playing high school basketball that were good athletes, but not necessarily, highly skilled players. And on the other hand, we had some kids that were pretty highly skilled that maybe didn't have the level of athleticism that was kind of elite. But now we're seeing, a situation, and I put Alex in this category. I think, as good an athlete as Alex is, I think for him, his skill set and his fundamentals, his concern for fundamentals, he's a very fundamentally sound player. He's one of the most fundamentally sound players I've ever worked with. And, areas of where he needs to improve, he has that ability to be able to learn very quickly and to adapt that into his game. So, that's when you come up with elite level players, when you've got that combination of athleticism and a skill set that goes with it.
Going to be nice for you guys. Now, again, I've been doing a lot of finger crossing here in the last while, but hopefully this season you will be able to be in your home base to play, and hopefully we can have some fans in there cheering you on as well. I noticed the season is now going to start later in June because of how the third wave is just really wreaking havoc in especially Ontario and Quebec, and 4 of the teams are based in Ontario. So obviously you absolutely can't be traveling into that province while this is going on. So hopefully June 24th, enough people will be vaccinated. Maybe, things will quiet down enough that you'll be able to tip off. Do you just kind of wait and see, Barry, and learn what patience is all about? And, or is it the league talking to all of you about what a plan B or plan C might be if things continue the way they are in Ontario and Quebec?
Oh, there's no doubt the league has been very proactive and very strong in the direction that they've provided. And, from the get-go, it was, the very strong preference and the strong direction coming from the league that we wanted to play in our home markets, whether that be in front of fans or not, as opposed to going back into a bubble situation. And that is still, the direction that the league wants to go. I think, it was, everybody in the world is kind of in this kind of wait and see, and the situation is fluid and things are going to change. I think it was very prudent by the league to push back the start date in the hopes that some of the challenges are going to subside a little bit, and get into a situation where we can still be in the home markets and play. And we're going to have to just sit on that and wait to see the way things are going to go. As the league continues to work with the provincial governments and the health organizations in each of those provinces to try and make this work, and really the last resort, the fallback plan is to go back to a bubble situation, which the league says the least preferable option, but that one is still there if things do not unfold as we would like them to in the coming weeks and month or so.
Yeah, it's what I understand from Ontario's sport and culture minister, Lisa MacLeod, that she said they've been so busy dealing with COVID in Ontario that they haven't had an opportunity to even consider the CFL's proposal to try to get Hamilton, Toronto, and Ottawa able to play this season and get that permission. So I'm guessing you guys may be a little further down that list, just for logistic reasons, and where their focus needs to be. So it's an awkward time for everybody. But we have seen leagues be able to start up. Not that it's been perfect, but they've at least had the opportunity. The NBA now, we're seeing fans in the stands. That started happening partway through the season. Hockey, we still haven't seen it, but it's a start. We saw the NFL able to start bringing, a few thousand fans in as well. So hopefully you guys can do it and be able to travel safely, which is always the number one thing, to be able to get in and get back out safely. And I know you'll probably have to bubble yourselves when you travel to ensure that you're all right, and teams will have to do the same thing here. So it's going to be a very different season, but hopefully you can get back playing again.
Well, I think you used the word hopeful, and I think that's what everybody across the country needs right now is just a little bit of hope. And, the league is very hopeful that, things are going to unfold in a way that we're going to be able to pull this off. But having said that, the leadership, the front office of the league hasn't been just sitting there, with their fingers crossed. They've been very active in developing safety protocols, both for travel and in venues and for practices and all those things. And, this isn't some reckless approach that they're taking, some haphazard way of just trying to get this done. The planning for this in terms of, protocols and safety measures has been meticulous, and the league will continue to provide strong direction to each of the teams throughout the season in order to make sure that we've got proper testing in place, proper safety protocols, proper travel protocols, all those things. It's a very detailed and very large task, but I have to salute the league front office for the work that they've done and continue to do in trying to get this done in a safe fashion.
Yeah, I have to admit, Barry, from the very beginning, I've had more confidence in the CEBL and the possibilities of it lasting as a league compared to what I went through covering the other two leagues that came in, and even watching the Canadian National Basketball League, or the whatever they were calling themselves. Even I never felt comfortable that they were kind of in a good situation. So I'd like the approach that Mike Moriel has brought in, and making this fun. Your pregame stuff, your during the game stuff, just to make sure everybody's having a good time, and that's really what it's all about, is make it an event that people want to go to. So, as I say, I'm not worried about the league being able to have games this season. I think it's just a question of how you're going to be able to do it. So that's, I guess, what we all have to wait for. But Alex, for you as a player, mm-hmm. because you guys can't all work out together, and I know you have your brother Addison that you can be working out with, and I don't know if you guys have had enough games of 21 and horse to last you for a while. Yeah. But what's it like, really basically trying to train on your own and keep your skill level up to where you want it to be for when you can get back in a game situation?
Yeah, it's made it a little bit more difficult, of course, but I've been fortunate enough, of course, to allow the university. We are able to train with do weightlifting with the university, a few of us, about 3 times a week. So we do that in the morning, and Coach Rawlyk will be there, which is awesome. And I'm also able to work one-on-one with Coach Rawlyk and Coach Chad, of course, just at the pack about 4 times a week. So that's also a great opportunity. So I'm able to work with them and have them develop me, which is huge. It would be a lot harder doing it all on my own and kind of creating the drills on my own, rebounding by myself in a gym, or even having my brother just in the backyard. As you can tell today, it's a little kind of snowy and windy out, so it makes it a little harder to go back out there and train out there. So to be able to have those opportunities available to me makes it a lot easier and a lot better. So just kind of, makes it harder though, doing individual work and just kind of being by myself compared to be able to compete against someone else. So that's something I'm missing, but I want to make sure that I'm staying ready, and that when I am able to compete against someone else, that I'm going to be kind of at the top of my game and in good shape, and I'm able to compete still at a high level.
Yeah, it's tough with 20 layers of clothes on if you're outside playing to shoot properly. I've learned that, so I've stopped trying that. But yeah, it does make it more difficult. Your form is definitely not the same. So, Barry, best case situation, when can you start getting the players to start getting here to Saskatoon and start a training camp with June 24th potential start date to the season?
Well, the league kind of dictates some of that because, of course, we have some players that are coming from outside of Canada. There's, obviously a number of players that are already within the country, but the plan is to bring the international players, those from the U.S. or those that are overseas right now, bring them to Canada on June 1st, where they'll have to undergo the hotel quarantine followed by, the 2-week type of quarantine, and that will all be coordinated because they'll all be flown into, I believe, Toronto, and so they will be quarantined somewhere in Ontario. And then following that 14-day quarantine, just before training camp, which is open on June 17th here in Saskatoon, and there's some things surrounding that with medicals for our players and some media type things. They'll be brought to Saskatoon. The team will assemble here on the 17th for training camp, and 16 players will be here for the training camp. We'll go through that process and kind of cut down to make the final selections for the team, and of course that's all leading towards the first game on June 24th.
Okay, so it's a pretty tight timeline, and lots of, providing a player doesn't test positive when they arrive as well is always a concern. And so yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of extra protocols here that everybody's going to have to follow to ensure safety, and that's what we all want: health and safety for all your players, your coaching staff, and every other team. So hopefully, as I say, hopefully, I know I've been using it probably ad nauseum here throughout this half hour, but we're all living on hope right now, and so that's where things are at. But Barry, Alex, I really want to thank you guys a lot for joining me today, and I hope this hasn't been too painful. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the court again, and looking forward to having a chance to chat with your teammates, and Barry with you as well during the course of the season. So best of luck, and I hope we get everything going again, and we get the Rattlers back on the court.
Linda, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having us on, and we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah,
Sounds
thank
good.
you very much. It was a pleasure to be on, and it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Alex. Take care. Have a great day, guys. That is our show for this week. Thank you, everyone, for having lunch with us again today, and look forward to seeing you again here on Sportsline YXE, which is brought to you through the new website called Know YXE, which is helping us learn more about what's going on in Saskatoon. So check out the website. Want to thank Ian Roach, who produces the podcast, and Deborah Hauberk, who helps out as well with all the social media stuff. And again, thank you so much for joining. The Bucks play tonight. Let's go, Milwaukee. Have a good day, folks.